We start with Newt, the bomb thrower. Howard Fineman is the Huffington Post Media Group editorial director. David Corn is Mother Jones Washington bureau chief. Both are MSNBC political analysts. Gentlemen, here are new NBC News Marist poll numbers of Republican voters in two key states. In South Carolina, Gingrich leads the pack. These numbers are growing, 42%. Romney comes in a distant second, 23%. Ron Paul down at 9%. In Florida, a state that was supposed to save Mitt Romney, Gingrich's lead is also strong. He's up to 44% to Romney's 29%, with Paul at 8%. Gingrich's huge lead in these new polls is testament to his willingness to be a bomb thrower. He showed it in that debate when he refused to back off his assertion that the Palestinians are an invented people. Let's listen.
Is what I said factually correct? Yes. Is it historically true? Yes. Somebody ought to have the courage to tell the truth. These people are terrorists. They teach terrorism in their schools.
And the last thing Bibi Netanyahu needs to have is not just a person who's an historian, but somebody who is also running for president of the United States. Stand up and say things that create extraordinary tumult in his neighborhood. And if I'm president of the United States, I will exercise sobriety, care, stability. I'm not a bomb thrower, rhetorically or literally.
It is helpful to have a president of the United States with the courage to tell the truth, just as it was Ronald Reagan, who went around his entire national security apparatus to call the Soviet Union an evil empire. I'm a Reaganite. I'm proud to be a Reaganite. I will tell the truth, even if it's at the risk of causing some confusion sometimes with the timid.
Well, that was the most self-congratulatory piece of crap I've heard in a long time, Howard. I mean, I have to tell you, Ronald Reagan called the Soviet Union an evil empire because it is one. The Palestinians did not think up the fact they lived in Palestine for several thousand years. They didn't create that notion. They had to be stuck there. And it is a very unpleasant part of our history, the world history, that we have two peoples trying to share the same small piece of geography. Is Newt Gingrich helping the Middle East situation or being tumultuous, as he intends to be, apparently? By the way, his bomb throwing could have consequences.
Well, a couple points. First of all, Chris, you're right. It's a ridiculous analogy. The Soviet Union was a worldwide threat. It was evil, or certainly one out to try to undermine the West, and spent years, if not decades, trying to do it. There was a long Cold War over that. Whatever you want to say about the Palestinian people, the last thing they are is an empire. There are people struggling for their own rights and for their own identity in the Middle East, just as other peoples in that region are. That's number one. Number two, it was fascinating to watch Newt's face and his body language when Mitt Romney said that some people create extraordinary tumult with their comments. Newt Gingrich smiled like the cat who'd swallowed the canary at that point. He's proud of that. His whole appeal to Republican voters is that he's a guy who will create tumult, that he will end the sort of Barack Obama period of sort of peaceful conversation, which they, that is Republican conservatives and activists, think hide a radical Obama agenda that's clothed in the language of reasonableness, and that Mitt Romney is going to be Newt Gingrich is going to be a guy who's going to rip that mask of civility off and get down to tumult making. That's what they want, and that's why Newt was proud to give it to him.
Well, there's a great Yiddish term. I shouldn't be the one to join in with
Sure,
that one,
ahead.
but there is one called a tumler. Who guys, red buttons are one of those guys from the old days. And the Borscht Belt would be the guys to shake up the women on a rainy day.
That was about comedy, Chris. That was about comedy and having fun in the Catskills. That's not like this.
Well, this guy seems to be a real one. Let me go back to you, David Corn, about this. This guy being a bomb thrower. I just keep thinking the Republican Party, do they really want somebody this bad that they're willing to take him because he is so bad? And I use those words carefully here. He is bad news for the country. He was divisive when he was around the first time. He likes, you pointed that out well, when he chuckled there in that grimacing little chuckle of his, because Romney called him out, he seemed to really enjoy being the bad guy here.
In a word, yes. We talked about this last week. I think he likes to be the Joker character from the Batman movies, creating chaos. And I think the most important statement of the night was what we just heard when Mitt Romney said, I am not a bomb thrower. Actually, that's too bad for Mitt, because I do believe that the Republican primary electorate wants a bomb thrower. And they, Michelle Bachmann looked like a bomb thrower at the beginning, but then Rick Perry came along, and he was a gunslinger, but he just didn't have the brains upstairs to pull that off, and people soured on him.
Right.
And now they're looking at Newt, who really is, in politics, Peck's little bad boy. For 30 years, he's been calling his enemies the most atrocious names. They're treasonous, they're traitors, they're betraying the country. He's caused anyone who, even if he gets his dry cleaning late, he calls the person in charge Neville Chamberlain. He's all about excessive rhetoric, guised in this intellectual metaphors and historical analogies that often don't hold water, but it sounds good. So anyone out there looking to, really take it to Obama, he doesn't feel their pain. He feels their anger, and he gives it right back to them, and that's what they're loving right now.
Okay, it looks like we got a contract with the devil replacing the contract with America. Today in New Hampshire, Mitt Romney was asked about the idea that people like Newt Gingrich because he is a rhetorical bomb thrower. Let's listen to Mitt Romney.
I know that among some folks, just saying outrageous or incendiary things will get you a lot of kudos and drive your numbers up. But it's not going to win us the White House. And it's not going to win us the respect of people on the other side of the aisle that we have to bring together to overcome the extraordinary challenges we have. Look, I think this president's been an extraordinary failure. I think this president has taken on a job, and he's way over his head. But I don't think he's an evil person. I don't think he's a bad person.
Boy, Howard, it's rare we get it. This is a real morality play, the way these two guys, this isn't complicated. One guy wants to be civilized, and the other guy wants to be a troglodyte. It's a caveman. It's really different approaches to be. It isn't hard to be a pundit this year, is it?
No, it isn't.
To discern the differences between these guys.
The problem is Mitt Romney hasn't figured out how to be a compelling nice guy.
Yeah.
He just comes off as a boring and somehow a little too contrived nice guy, and because he seems so contrived, it elevates the contrast between him and Newt. I mean, Newt's been all over the lot on every conceivable issue, but yet he somehow seems to be a genuine flip-flopper compared to the contrived flip-flopper. Maybe they're both the same, really, in many ways. In many ways, Newt Gingrich has taken more positions on more sides of more issues than Mitt Romney has. But yet he comes off somehow as more genuine than Mitt Romney, and that remains Mitt Romney's problem. The other thing about Newt Gingrich is he does sometimes say interesting, provocative, thought-provoking things, and they're salted in there with all the other craziness, and it makes it hard to separate one from the other. I mean, David and I have decades worth of having covered politicians. I dare say there are a few more thought-provoking political figures that either of us have ever covered than Newt Gingrich. Often it's maddening. Often when you follow the trail of his thoughts, it leads nowhere. But it gets you thinking in a way that few other politicians do. And
that means there's a perfect place for him in our world. It's called Fox News as a commentator. Right where he belongs. His Peter principle is showing. Here in a clip, by the way, we got a clip that's going viral from the debate. Mitt Romney is so sure he's right. And he is right. Rick Perry's wrong, and he is wrong. But look who lost this rhetorically. Mitt Romney offered a $10,000 bet. Most people don't have that in their wallets. That's not table stakes for most Americans. Here he is today. Gingrich chided Romney for the big bet. Let's listen.
You must have been really sure. Well, Josh, bet that amount of money?
How much do you want to bet you'll win New Hampshire?
That's me, buddy. Not more than $10.
Well, David Corn, the brilliant opportunist, acting like he's small beer compared to this guy.
Yes.
Newt's got more. As Newt was bragging 2 weeks ago, or was it 5 days ago? He was making $60,000 a pop. He was out there bragging wholesale, and now he's Mr. Uriah Heep all of a sudden. I mean, this guy's ability to turn on a dime is frightening. He's now poor.
He could put on the table his wife's jewelry for several $1 million if he wanted to. But I think what you just hit it on the nail there, Chris. It's not that he's a flip-flopper. He is a gyrator. He will say whatever comes into his head at the moment that gives him an advantage, no matter whether it's true or not. He has this great penchant for attacking people on the very things that he himself is vulnerable for. So I'll say, Barney Frank and Chris Dodd should go to jail because of their associations with Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae, even though he made $1.6 million from those same government entities. Nothing holds him back. He's entirely situational.
But isn't that about our medium? David Corn, that's our medium.
Yes. It is our medium, and he understands that.
Every 6 hours, the news cycle changes. As long as it's good for that news cycle, fits in that particular box.
Yeah.
Six hours later, he's got a new line.
Chris, it's all about buzz. It's all about buzz. I would say that cable TV is now even too slow for what's really going on. We're talking about Twitter. We're talking about a Twitter universe here, where every jab, where every cut and thrust is immediately retweeted all over the planet, and that creates the buzz that people are following almost as if mesmerized in the instant by instant of the campaign. And I'll say this for Newt Gingrich. When he came to town, nobody was using C-SPAN as a platform for attack. Newt Gingrich figured out how to use C-SPAN. He figured out how to use cable TV. He sold all these 24 books. He's done this futuristic stuff.
I'm doing that tomorrow. I'm going on C-SPAN tomorrow to sell a book. It still works.
Far be it from me to criticize that, but that's what he's doing, and that's what he's very good at.
The interesting thing
by
here,
the way,
too,
I think our medium's pretty fast. I mean, when you're talking about slow-moving media, don't include hardball. This program has only been criticized on one front. We're too darn. Would you slow it down? Would you stop interrupting people? Nobody's ever said we're too slow. You guys are the best. Thank you, Howard Fineman. And I can't keep track of the brilliant pieces of analysis you two guys come up with in just 10 minutes. I need some sort of chronicle to keep up with your genius. Hey, guys, thank you. Happy holidays, but I'll see you sooner than that.